Can I see you a minute, please? Can I see you a minute, please? Can I see you a minute, please?
¿A dónde está papi? 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 ¿A dónde está papi?
Welcome to the Wednesday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Wednesday. Welcome. Alio, how's it going? Mayhem Hippie, how's it going? Yes, you made it indeed. Welcome. Just gotta make sure. Twitch patch notes. What are patch notes today? Alright, well, we can check that out in a second. How's everybody doing? We have a few things to go through today. So I think we should probably get some of this started. Doing the things and the stuff. Yes, the things and the stuff. Same, honestly. Getting ready for this weekend. I have a very good friend coming over to visit. So that's cool. Yeah, for some reason it says that I dropped frames. But it seems like we're okay. Twitch was talking about Turbo, the 70-30 split, and content labels. Gotcha. Oh, yeah. They're gonna update like content labels for like mature or something like that, mature audiences. I hope you enjoy yourselves. Yeah, I'm very excited. I'm very excited. All right, so let's take a look at this. Two people asked about subs and how much does it cost to stream daily on Twitch? A lot of money, I would I would guess. If I had to guess, it takes probably a lot of money. Um, to host and to have like this go as smooth as as it does. I suspect it takes a lot of money, but they own a lot of like the infrastructure as well, right? The Amazon the Amazon owns a lot of the infrastructure, so hey, NOK Live, how's it going? 400 easy? Like each streamer every day? Nah, it has to be more than that. Per streamer? Maybe. But again, AWS is Amazon, so they own like the infrastructure, right? I'm here early. I only took a surgery and my sleep schedule dying. Sheesh. Sorry to hear that. I hope you're doing all right. All right, well, let's take a listen. Ali with the 12 biddies, thank you so much. What are we talking about? Twitch.
Wasn't as good. It wasn't as good. I thought it would be longer and louder, but it's still pretty good. It's still pretty good. Still pretty good. Let's see in 0.5 speed.
2 or 3 months.
Yeah, that was much better. That was much better. Damn. All right. Went too slow for our own good.
Kick is greater than Twitch. I mean, like, I think that I think that there are some interesting concepts coming out of I think that there's some interesting concepts coming out of Kick, but here's the problem. They're doing some weird stuff. They're doing some weird stuff, and Aiden Ross being like a part of that is not something that I'm okay with. But yeah, Twitch seems to hate political streamers except Hassan. Yeah, well, Hassan is huge, so that's probably why. That's probably why.
Super side eye.
That was some unfortunate.
Oh wait, Mary also noticed it as well. Look at Mary's reaction. This is great. This is my favorite. This is.
Oh, was that like okay? Super side eye. Gotcha. One of them did not like the question. Yeah, I see that. I mean, like, to be fair, Twitch isn't like a politics place. Twitch primarily is like a just chatting / like video game kind of area. I don't think Aiden Ross should be judged by judged off Kick. I think that all think of all the problematic people Twitch has had. True. But also, Aiden, isn't Aiden like a co-owner? Isn't Aiden Ross a co-owner? Versus like just a dude on the platform? Because I think like that's the distinction. If I'm correct. If I'm not correct, then I'll take that L. I emailed Kick.com, but they claim they don't want political category, but it exists on Kick. They don't want politics on Kick, but yet, okay, whatever. Spread it forward. How's it going? I use it for a handful of political streamers and DJs. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different categories on Twitch, and politics by far is not a big category on Twitch, okay? You don't think twitch.com or twitch.tv and you automatically think politics. When you see twitch.tv, you think video games. Normally, video games are just like just chatting with people interacting with like their streamer. That's what you generally kind of think of when you see twitch.tv. I mean, you could probably say YouTube might be more amicable to like a politics kind of scene. But yeah, I don't know if I would consider Twitch a big politics hub. Who started Kick and why? Yeah, like that's like I'm pretty sure Aiden I'm pretty sure like Aiden, I thought he was like a co-owner, which is kind of like the problem. Was Kick created to serve as an alternative platform to promote hateful ideology and hateful people? Me think so. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen like the Kick chat, but man, it's nothing but freaking slurs. It's literally nothing but slurs. Zero moderation. Zero. No moderation at all on Kick. So there is. Yeah, I mean, like this is a fair point. Obviously, Twitch does not give a shit about the creators. I hear you. NOK Life. I hear you. I completely agree. Aiden Ross Kick. He might never experience that. To be honest, been streaming on it for a month and it's been good. I can moderate myself as well, and through the community has treated me well. That's good. That's good. I'm glad that you had a positive experience, but whew. Yeah, and here I thought Kick was for side piecing and cheaters in international gaming communities. What? Might be wrong, but I thought he only had to deal with Kick. Yeah, I think you might be right. I think I'm the one that's gonna take an L on that one. I think you might be right. I think he had a big deal with Kick. No, like Kick, like literally KICK, like Kick, not Kick, the messaging app. There's a lot of view bots on Kick. I didn't know that. How can you know? How would you be able to tell if the metrics that you are looking at are the correct metrics? I don't know. Are there view bots on Twitch? Probably. That's it. Oh, that went over my head. Mayhem Hippie, just ignore me. Do you ever ask people why they're Kick and not on Twitch? If not, I suggest you do so. There are issues that we should call it out so they can adjust. Honestly, I want them to be a valid choice going forward. I mean, like, I think that there should be more alternative choices to streaming platforms other than Twitch. I'm just very hesitant about the options available. I'm just very hesitant about the options available. I mean, like, YouTube seems to be at the top of the list, which is why I've been trying to make an effort when I remember, for folks to, like, go check out the YouTube, or just, you don't even have to do anything. Just hit the subscribe button. Just go to, like, just hit the subscribe button. Just kind of as like a backup. But yeah, especially other than, and yeah, like YouTube, Twitch, more freedoms with their own content or streamer, they like went there. Yeah, it depends too. The XQC, oh god, no moderation whatsoever. XQC was like streaming full on like movies and TV shows. XQC is like streaming freaking Breaking Bad on Kick. Yeah. I mean, like, at first I thought it was a neat option, but yeah, I don't know. And also, like, here's the thing. There's a couple of red flags. The first one being that 95 to 5 split is amazing. Yeah, they were XQC was streaming The Dark Knight Rises, or The Dark Knight, I think. I don't remember, but he was streaming like a full-on Batman movie. He was also streaming Breaking Bad episodes. So, yeah. Yeah, it's not going to last very long if you're one of like a massive personalities doing that stuff on your platform. DMCA is a thing. I'm pretty sure that Warner Brothers or Sony, I forget who, Warner Brothers, right? Warner Brothers. I'm pretty sure they're not they're not going to stay silent if that continues. Anyways, yeah, I don't know. It just seems like there's a couple of like red flags. 95 to 5 split sounds amazing, but also sounds a little bit too good to be true. I don't know. I can't do TikTok. Their algos push so much low quality garbage. I guess it depends on how you curate the algorithm. Yeah, you're right, NRK Life. The gambling is also an issue, but I certainly won't be gambling on any platform. Let them cook and see where they go, and how they handle stumbles of being a new platform. I mean, like, the only thing that I could think of is, like, if they continue to lose, like, big streamers, if Twitch continues to lose big streamers, then maybe it would incentivize them to act accordingly. But I don't know. Because I like Twitch out of all of them. I like Twitch out of all of them. However, their attitude and policies towards creators are not very friendly. I'm surprised Paramount Plus is not watching Kick. I mean, like, if it catches enough attention, yeah, that's going to be a super big problem. Yeah, no thank you. I wish YouTube would revamp their site. They could have a channel. They could have each channel be a hub area where you could have a tab for videos and shorts. Yeah, I mean, like, if YouTube ever decides to really flip the switch on this whole live streaming thing, it's over. It's over. Basically, YouTube would take over. Basically, if that happens, if YouTube ever decides that, like, all right, we're gonna seriously concentrate on like the streaming aspect, it's over. It's over. YouTube is just going to take. It's just going to take over. And I feel like they're moving. I feel like they're moving in that direction because they just announced that you only need 500 subs to allow like community funding. So instead of having to do like the 1,000 subs and go to the YouTube Partner Program, at 500 you're eligible to have like the YouTube super chats or super thank yous or whatever they're called, and the gifted memberships. That becomes active at 500 subs, which is a much more realistic, well, easier goal than 1,000 subs plus like whatever watch hours. So it might be that they're getting ready to do that. Yeah, it does have a really bad UI design, and it's impossible to get discovered with live streams. Yeah, because they haven't really put the pedal to the metal when it comes to like the whole discovery thing. Hey, Lucian, how's it going? They haven't really hit the pedal to the metal with the discoverability on live streams, but when they do, it's done. When they do, it's over. If they had a new discovery method and a proper stream portion with a proper UI, it would easily take over. Yeah, 100%. 100%. That's all they need. And like I said, they might be moving in that direction, given that they're lowering that threshold for community funding to open that up to creators. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how this pans out. If YouTube has been making a ton of changes to their UI, true. And they've been adding features throughout the years to kind of like more or less be on par with Twitch. But if it ends up being the case, that Twitch goes down, then I see YouTube as being an alternative. And YouTube has the best algos in the game so far. Yeah. YouTube is the kind of king of half-assing features and making the worst possible decisions for creators. Well, I don't know about that. I think Twitch takes the cake on worst possible decisions for creators. But granted, yes, their features with live streaming are not up to snuff just yet. Creating easy to search categories and the sync between YouTube Music and linking between devices is awesome. Yeah, and like the fact that if they ever, whenever they decide to flip the switch and actually make like live streaming as part of their thing, yeah, it's over. It's not really for live streaming yet. They've been working on the back end. Yep. Google legit is going to own everything, aren't they? Yeah. The largest search engine, followed by the second largest search engine, which is also owned by them. Yeah. On that note, subscribe to the YouTube channel in case anything happens to Twitch. Brave browser, DuckDuckGo advocate. I keep meaning to do that. To get Brave. Yellow King. Or at least an alternative browser. They get a bad rap from the right, but anyone in security advocates for this. Well, after that DDoS incident that happened a couple of years ago, I've been much more mindful of much more mindful of operational security. All right, folks, we got a few clips to go through before we get started. It's probably good to start on this one.
Business across Florida, well, they're panicking as workers pack up and leave the state following Ron DeSantis' anti-immigrant legislation that goes into effect July 1st. Companies say that workers are growing scarce. They aren't even sure how much longer they can keep their doors open, and DeSantis is pretending like everything is perfectly normal. Well, you know, we've been doing this story. As soon as this started, before it actually was signed, we started doing the story. We said all this is going to happen. We made the prediction that businesses are going to close, that they're going to leave the state. And sure enough, it's happening. It's being reported all over the state right now.
Wild. A egotistical, narcissistic xenophobe decides to make bad policy. And here we are. Common DeSantis L. True. Technology literacy is a requirement to thrive going forward. It'll be as important as cooking and finance. Oh yeah, I'm I try to be very conscious. Very conscious. Slightly arguing with my roommate about YouTube when groomers were trying to use YouTube in moderation. A long time ago. You're talking about like years ago with the scandals on YouTube. What is this immigration bill? I think that the immigration bill that's being referenced is that you will now, I think like, no, not the Title 42 stuff. I think that Florida specifically made more, harsher punishments for like, employing immigrants. Let me see. Florida immigration bill. Ah, come on. Conscious Canuck with the tier 1 sub for 17 months. I'm no voice. My fan was delivered and I'm proud resident of an apartment with circulating air again. Congratulations. No, besides Title 42, there was another bill that was just done. Oh my god, why is everything behind a paywall? Immigration prohibiting counties and municipalities respectively from providing funds to any person, entity, or organization issue identification documents to an individual who does not provide proof of lawful presence in the U.S. Ah, yes, specifying that certain driver license and permits used by other states exclusively to requiring certain hospitals to collect patient information. Yeah, and I think you also, if you transport an undocumented person, you could also get you could also face consequences. Registration forms require the Department of Economic Opportunity to enter certain order and require repayment of certain economic development incentives if the department finds or is notified that an employer is knowingly employed an unauthorized alien without verifying the employment eligibility, such as $12 million. Exploiting immigrants for cheap labor is literally how we run a lot of industry, especially in Florida. Bro really shot his team in the foot. I mean, that's kind of like the gist of it, right? Slav, welcome. less freedoms, basically. Yep, you're supposed to just talk whistle, not actually. But that's the thing, though. Like at some point, they're gonna want. At some point, these people are gonna want to actually act on it. Bill 1718. Okay, gotcha. True. Land of the free if you have money. I can send you the link. Yeah, you can send it to me so I can post it in chat. Much easier. Romney had to pay a fine, but he hired someone else for choosing the landscapers. Yeah, I mean, Trump has had like the same kind of deal, right? Didn't he employ a lot of undocumented folks? Yeah, here we are. So this is the bill that's being referenced. If you guys want to check this out.
Yeah, we're looking at, some of the major, hubs down there in South and Central Florida. We've got Bradenton, we're seeing it in Miami, we're seeing it down in the Florida Keys, we're seeing it in Orlando. And it's because these migrant workers who come to the state of Florida and bail out our economy, we're dependent upon them. And now they're saying, I'm not coming, I can't, I'll be arrested.
But isn't the story really this? I mean, we've done every iteration of this story. I don't want to overkill this story. It's a shame. It's deplorable that this happened. But we're not politicians. But when we first saw the legislation, we said this is going to happen.
Yeah.
Surely somebody in Tallahassee said that there are going to be people that are writing in the Bradenton Herald after this starts. This story comes from Bradenton Herald. Said it's not speculation anymore. It's actually happening.
Yeah, and like these folks aren't the only ones who have been talking about this either. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting how it plays out with the construction. Will the construction companies begin to hire legal immigrants now? Will now demand higher pay? Will should just not get built anymore since these rich construction companies don't want to cut into their profits? I mean, probably they'll just be like, well, I guess their job is done here in Florida, and they're just gonna peace out, you know.
But don't you think those politicians had a duty to at least think about that, think about what the impact was? I mean, what do you think?
Well, they do have a duty to do that. But look, you and I have had plenty of conversations with these lawmakers. We've seen how legitimately crazy some of them are.
Yeah.
They are not smart people.
Yeah, I think that's part of the problem.
They are people that have, either family connections or they come from old family Florida money or Florida lineage in the house, and they get elected. And so then you enable this creep here to do whatever the heck he wants to do, and that's what's happened. And here's the thing, these businesses, these migrants that are leaving, the businesses that are saying we've got another week before we can, stay alive. This is all before the law even goes into effect.
Well, again, I don't want to beat this. I mean, we've done several stories. We started doing stories before it ever really came into fruition. And we made these predictions. And to think that over in Tallahassee, there weren't politicians that were smart enough to understand what the net effect of this is. We've always said, look, immigration is about Chamber of Commerce. It's about Wall Street. They want to bring in cheap labor. Their idea is, hell, if we kill this worker, we just ship him back to Mexico. That's the ugly side of it.
Yeah.
But
I mean, let's just be honest. Like, it's not about, fiscal, responsibility. It's not about making it's not about making economically sound decisions. Okay? It's literally just xenophobia. That's it. Did you get the chance to watch the video and link the Discord where the argument is made that the GOP is a party of treason for decades? No, I couldn't complete it because it's almost like 50 minutes or something like that. I have not completed it yet. I think the GOP is deplorable, but the DNC is just notch under, nearly as corrupt and treasonous. 45 minutes, yes. I mean, yeah, you could make an argument for corruption on like the Democratic side. There's plenty of examples of that. But I think that the main, premise is that like literally these people are out like doing fucking engaging in insurrectionist behavior and stoking the flames of violence. Different. It's common practice for employers to violate laws. States also make laws trying to undermine federal laws. The majority of people who are victims of violations are not aware that they're victims or cannot afford attorneys. Yep, that's probably by design, to be quite frank.
All driven by Wall Street. This is all driven by Wall Street. It's driven by the Chamber of Commerce. Bring in cheap labor and everything's going to be good for Americans. That's the ugly part of the story. The other side of the ugly story is most of these people come here because they want to do better.
Yeah.
They want a good life for themselves and their family. They're willing to handle jobs that nobody else will handle. And then people have the audacity to say, well, they're taking my job. Really?
Yeah.
It's a ridiculous argument.
And the problem is, too, we've now made our economy, not just here in Florida, but across the country, we've made it dependent upon them.
Yeah, exactly.
We've made it to where we can't
It's just xenophobia. It doesn't have to make sense. Nor is it probably going to make sense. It's just xenophobia. That's it. That's where it begins and ends. Okay? None of these arguments make any sense. Like they're taking our jobs or whatever. It just doesn't. It's just xenophobia. That's it.
survive without them. And Florida, by the end of this year, we're going to see this horrendous negative effect.
Yeah, this story that we just called on down in Bradenton, these stories are going to be all over the state. I want to see what the reaction is. Farron, thanks for joining me, okay?
Thank you.
That's all for this week, but all of
Yeah, and like also keep in mind that like this is the kind of stuff that happens should we ever find ourselves in a situation where Republicans have a significant majority of power. This is what happens. Fear is not logical and it never will be true. The way America does deny class warfare and paying people trash wages. Well, yeah, I mean, it's the capitalism. How do we begin to restructure the economy so we can take in immigrants, have healthy exchange of people between countries, and do so without devaluing economies? Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's not. It's not capitalism, because capitalism requires the exploitation. So you're not going to get the results. You're not going to get the results that way. So, me thinks you're onto something then.
In an order signed on Monday, one of the magistrate judges, Judge Bruce Reinhart, overseeing the documents prosecution of Donald Trump, ruled that Mr. Trump cannot be trusted to be left alone with the documents, and he's only allowed to view any evidence in the case against him if his lawyers are present and in the room with him. Furthermore, Judge Reinhart says that...
Yeah, and like, does anybody really think that this dude, if given the opportunity, is not going to just blab like his mouth off on like Truth Social or whatever? Yeah, of course. I mean, like, this dude's digging his own grave and continues to dig his own grave.
That Donald Trump is also not allowed to take any notes with him. So he can't go in there, look at the evidence, write stuff down, and take it away. Anything he creates while viewing the evidence has to stay with the evidence. Now, this is obviously a very big deal because it sets the tone for this entire prosecution. Now, it's unclear to me why the magistrate judge Reinhardt issued this ruling and not Judge Cannon. So that to me is a little weird, but I'm glad, because I don't think Cannon would have done this, obviously being a very obvious Trump loyalist. So it's good that we get this order in place by a different judge. Hopefully Cannon doesn't touch it going down the road. But this sets the tone for the case. I mean, the jury, the eventual jury, is going to know that this order was there. They will be told this. They will be told that the government and the judges, of course, who made this ruling, they didn't trust Trump enough to be allowed to have the evidence. That's how dangerous this guy is. That's how much of a loose cannon he is. And get this, according to the ruling, it's not just because Donald Trump can't be trusted with state secrets. We already know that much. It's because there's names of individuals involved in the investigation in this material. Those are the people that the courts and the DOJ are trying to protect. Because they do.
Yeah, because like you damn well know that this guy is gonna go on Truth Social and blab everything out. Exactly, Lucian. Practically, the American economy is only for rich people and companies, if we're honest, or is it only unions to save workers? Well, no. I mean, it's really. You're right. This country is only for the wealthy. That's it. I mean, like anything that involves a capitalistic, hyper-capitalist, centered model or system is only for the rich. That's it. That's it. While unions are a equalizing force, it's not the only thing that needs to happen to save workers. Pass a constitutional amendment that the military must pass an audit every year or their budget gets cut 5% and you'll have enough budget space for more social programs. That is a very good idea. I agree. But that'll never happen. That'll never happen. There's nobody that would that's a thing that's not going to happen. It makes way too much sense. Given the fact that like we just lost. We had an accounting error of $6.2 billion? Hold on, let me pull that up. Yeah, $6.2 billion. In a accounting error. Yeah. How do you make a $6.2 billion mistake? Explain that one to me. Didn't the Pentagon also lose like an ungodly amount of money? I think it was like in the trillions? No, right? I can't remember. That they couldn't account for either? Anywho.
Do not trust Donald Trump to go out there and start attacking FBI agents. They don't trust him to not start attacking other potential witnesses. And again, that's all information that is going to be in the discovery documents that Donald Trump is allowed to view under the supervision of his lawyers. But Trump's going to learn things, and it's going to piss him off. But now that this protective order is in place, it opens Donald Trump up to the possibility of getting hit with contempt charges if, of course, he does violate them. And I think it's almost more of a when he violates them than an if he violates them, because as we all know from Donald Trump, the one thing that guy refuses to ever do is shut up. And this is one instance where basically the court is telling him, you are legally required to shut the hell up.
Which he cannot. Yeah, it's a rounding error. Walter, how's it going? Oopsie, I'm a Scorpio. The Mercury is in Gatorade or something. Sorry. Your Honor, my client pleads oopsie daisy. True. It's called the pallets of missing Benjamins, which go missing in war zones. True.
So, will he do it? Can he do it? Is he physically capable of not going out there and spilling the beans so that witnesses get intimidated or that FBI agents get intimidated by his crazy followers. I don't think he is.
I mean, like, to be honest, to be honest, I think this is serious. I think this is serious, and I think that Trump might actually shut the fuck up. Because this isn't a game. What he's facing is very serious. So who knows? Can you not commit tax fraud for 5 minutes? No.
I think he will absolutely do everything he can to try to memorize these people's names, then go and get on Truth Social. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll have to wait and see, obviously, what does happen. But this is a great ruling, not just because it protects the witnesses and the other individuals involved, but because, as I said, it sets the tone for the trial. This is the first thing that potential jurors are going to learn about. They're going to know that Donald Trump could not be trusted. And let's not forget that the entire prosecution is about Donald Trump not being able to be trusted with these documents. You know, that's part of the Espionage Act charges, is that he allegedly showed them to other people. So when the court's first decision is you're not allowed to show this stuff to other people, probably going to set the mood for that jury, where they're going to understand that the court already determined that Trump can't be trusted. So, not saying it's gonna sway the jury, but...
Right, like, the reason why he's in this mess to begin with is because he did the very same... He did the thing that the judges are saying that he's being accused of, so therefore they're making it an order for him not to do the thing. I mean, like, that kind of, like, implies that the court knows that the court knows, so okay. Not a chance Trump would insult the mothers of the members of the firing squad he's standing in front of. He's genetically incapable of shutting up and not insulting his perceived enemies. Well, yeah, that's true. You had a nuclear launch codes written down on a piece of paper in your house. How do you plead? Innocent. Not guilty. I didn't do it. Listen.
If you're wondering why words like woke or terms like critical race theory suddenly became prominent just out of nowhere, well, that is the power of propaganda. Because when you have mainstream news outlets like Fox News working in tandem with Republican politicians and online outlets like the Daily Wire, for example, they're able to have a very large influence on broader political discourse, to the point where they can actually alter our perception of reality and elevate the salience of virtually any issue. But their most recent...
True. I wonder how they picked a jury, because everyone knows who Trump is, so how did they pick a jury who's not biased? Well, everyone can know who the person is. It's just whether or not they can be trusted to kind of deliberate in a fair way, I guess. Because, like, yeah, you could know who the president is or who the president was, but as long as you can show that you're not going to be biased in the case, I think that would be the deciding factor. Mark my words, he's going to say I'm an honest man of God on trial if it's public. Do you think so? I mean, it's not exactly out of character, or rather, it wouldn't be out of character if you did that.
Catchphrase, of course, is groomer, which they've been using specifically to describe LGBTQ plus people, really any and everything LGBTQ plus related, and even anyone who supports them. But what's especially nefarious about their bastardization of that word in particular is that groomer is an important word with real meaning. An actual groomer is an adult who cultivates a friendship with a child with the intent to exploit or abuse them sexually. And conservatives have conflated that predatory and criminal behavior with any and everything LGBTQ+, but their use of the word in this context is very inconsistent. Some use grooming as a synonym for indoctrination, whereas others use it to refer to sexually predatory behavior, or sometimes they'll sloppily use both versions interchangeably. Case in point.
How do you feel about it?
Michael Hauser, I don't know if I said hi to you. Welcome. Currently, we're fighting to make the trial public, so they're refusing to make it, because they're refusing to make it so.
Indoctrination by people that are educators. I don't like that at all. There's just two very different things.
Right.
And if you want to tell me that they're the same thing, I say f you.
Right.
Because they're not. Because there's a lot of fucking crazy people that wind up being teachers. Someone said to me that, or read this, not all, that term groomer, a lot of people don't like that term online. They're very upset.
Yeah.
But they're real.
Right.
There are groomers.
Yeah, but like, bro, what a fucking disgusting piece of shit. Like, this kind of fucking rhetoric really fucking, like, grinds my gears. The whole fucking, like, groomer shit, unironically triggers me, because you're literally trying to paint a group of people with, like, the most horrible, like, accusation you could think of, because, let's be honest, you want to lay the dubious moral groundwork to fucking eliminate them. That's why they're doing it. And this fucking idiot over here is promoting, is parroting it, or is putting it to the forefront. I hate Trump's guts, but I'm perfectly capable of weighing evidence with no bias. It's called having integrity. Yeah, I'm assuming that's what they're going to try to do for the trial. Yeah, we know there's fucking groomers online. Okay? It happens. We know that there have been kids who have been exploited online. But that has nothing to do with the fucking LGBTQ community. That's the problem. That's the problem. They're trying to say that the LGBTQ community inherently, without no evidence, inherently just is this way, because they want to eliminate them. Why else would you do that? Why else would you lay the moral groundwork? Because, like, that's the justification. That's it. They just slap on that label of groomer, pedo, whatever, to the LGBTQ community to eliminate them. That's it. That's the only reason why they're doing this.
You don't like it? Do you not like it because you don't want children to be groomed? Or do you not like it because it's a pejorative that's used against the left? Which is, I think, more likely.
Yeah.
But here's what's more important. Not have people groom your fucking kids.
But the problem, Joe, is that when you say grooming, you really mean indoctrination there, which you're also using incorrectly, by the way. But to conflate grooming with indoctrination, that's a problem because you're muddying the waters.
Which is the point. Which is exactly the point, because, like, these people both not only engage in this behavior, especially the ones who are, like, leading the charge with this whole fucking, like, groomer shit, like Matt Walsh. Those people always end up either being actual groomers, like predators, or defending them. Never fails. The louder people scream groomer, the more you should audit their browser history. True! In American history, Republicans have had more sex scandals than Democrats. I mean, it's not exactly out of pocket. I believe that. A blind man leading other blind men in his audience, Joe's a moron. True, but not only that, he's making these decisions knowing he has that large platform. That dude, the guy has the biggest podcast on the planet, supposedly. How could you be this irresponsible? Also, welcome, Heat. How's it going? Oh, this guy just really fucking grinds my
Conservatives
gears.
have called the declaration of Pride Month grooming. They've also called Drag Queen Story Hour grooming. They've called family-friendly Pride events grooming. They've even called literal rainbow clothing grooming.
Right, because they're doing everything possible to paint that label. I mean, like you can literally see it. You can literally see it on any Twitter thread or anything like that. Okay, groomer, which I think was like didn't fucking James Lindsay popularize that? James Lindsay was one of like the four front runners of popularizing the hashtag OK groomer kind of deal, or was that Libs of TikTok? I can't remember. It was one of these fucking ghouls. Either Chaya Rychek or whatever the fuck her name is, or James Lindsay were the ones that like at the forefront of this hashtag OK groomer stuff. Yeah, you can see it in the replies and Twitter replies. If you defend LGBTQ people, okay, groomer. If you have like a fucking pride flag, okay, groomer. Yeah, they're doing it on purpose. Both makes sense. He's gonna rate Argentina if he loses both the trial and the election. I mean, I don't know. Rogan is getting paid, so why should he care? Because he gets more views? I don't know.
So in each of these instances, it's unclear which version of
so when there's a rainbow after rain, is the earth a groomer? You'd have to ask a conservative. This is a very pertinent question. But I can't really answer that. You're gonna have to ask a right winger for that one. I just got my new fan and I'm trying to keep cool. That's right.
grooming they're actually using. Do they think that Drag Queen Story Hour is an attempt to indoctrinate children into the LGBTQ plus lifestyle? Not that that's possible, but is that what they think? Or do they think a drag queen in the presence of children is akin to nudity or porn in the presence of children?
Which says more about them than anything. That's kind of strange. If that's your thought, if your thought process is that like drag queens are inherently sexual, you're the one doing that. You're the one thinking that way, my dude. Oh, man.
You don't know because they've muddied the waters so much to the point where people have been primed to think that any and everything queer related is inappropriate for children. But
right, which is the point. That's what he's saying is exactly the point. It's exactly the point. That's what the purpose of this propaganda campaign, this pedo jacketing campaign, this fucking pedo jacketing campaign is to put everything that has to do with LGBTQ, with anything that has to do with queer people, is just to associate that, to be associated with that label, because that's the dubious moral framework that's being constructed here to eliminate them. Because why else would you do something so horrible to label an entire community as like one of the literally like the top list of most horrible things that you could possibly be labeled as? Is the justification, is to lay down the justification. And yeah, for God's sake, stop sexualizing everything, which is exactly, that's what they're doing. All right, because like nobody looks at it like a drag queen, reading a book to fucking kids and their parents, who are right there, by the way. Nobody looks at that and it's like, yes, this is clearly a sexual act going on over here. No. Funnily enough, not left or right. I'd like to make fun of both. Right wing now, I'm poking at the right because it's easier, because they've made critical mistakes. Yeah, I'd say that for obvious reasons, it's a lot harder to poke holes in the left, because I have a feeling that we're much more in the right. But that's just the way I think. In a lot of issues, I think we're in the right. Anywho.
Don't apply that same standard to straight couples. So if there were two gay men that kissed in front of kids, they would probably call that grooming. But would they say the same for a straight couple? Is that not the sexualization of children? Is that not inappropriate for children? They have a different set of standards, and they are very unclear with the language that they use. And look, this whole think of the kids thing, it's not a new argument, right? The whole think of the kids argument has been used to justify the denial of civil rights for virtually every single marginalized group. The problem, however, is that their supposed concern for kids is cynical. And whenever they use it,
and it's not only cynical, it's disingenuous. They don't give a fuck about kids at all. Like, they'll literally take away kids' like benefits. They will literally take away kids like food benefits. They won't give support for maternity leave or paternity leave. They won't give support for funding schools. Nothing. They won't give kids health care. So spare me, please. Poking fun and Sleeping Joe. Poking fun at Sleepy Joe was fun for the first few months. I mean, like, you can criticize Joe Biden. I'm pretty sure there's like an umpteenth amount of fucking like shit you can criticize him for. I feel like Jon Stewart would poke fun at both sides, but it became so one-sided at the end, making fun wasn't enough. I think he left the CD as burnt. Trump hasn't exhausted his potential as a meme, and that's very important for his campaign. Making fun of stuff public only makes it harder for the Democrats to win. Nah, I think the Democrats make the Democrats hard. You know, I think that's a Democrat problem. Okay, that's a Democratic problem. Okay, the Democrats are very good at making it hard for Democrats to win. Okay. Okay, because it is unbelievable that Donald Trump would win an election. It is embarrassing that people would even like vote to the point that they did for Donald Trump or for any Republican at this point. So no, it's a the Democrats are making the Democrats harder for them to win.
To justify the denial of human rights to other people, it's always cynical, right? And we know this because if they genuinely cared about kids, LGBTQ plus people in this instance would not be their main focus. Now, let me tell you why that would be the case. A large group of Catholics ironically marched towards the Dodger Stadium chanting "Save Our Children" in response not to the child sex abuse in
right. Like, imagine the irony over here of fucking Catholics marching against LGBTQ people under the banner of, quote, "Save Our Children" because of this fucking, like, OK Groomer pedo jacketing fucking campaign. Like, the fucking irony. Bro, your institution is rife with fucking groomers. Okay? Your institution is fucking rife. Yeah, exactly, Wolf Glenn. Exactly. If you forget Wisconsin, I mean, like, Clinton did. Yeah. The Democrats are to blame for Democrats, in this case. That's just my opinion. Did you see the new Trump Fox interview? You actually like it? Trump was awful? Nah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I kind of saw, parts of it where I think was it the Brett Baier one? The Brett Baier one? I saw like a little piece of it where he was just like, "No, bro, you lost the election." Dude, my guy, you lost the election. I think this only happened. I think the only reason this happened is because of the lawsuit. Because like that should have been like if they were actually interested in being like journalists, you know, an actual like news organization with integrity, that should have been like the line from the beginning. Okay, that should have been the line from the beginning. But yeah, whatever. No brownie points to Fox News for that. Okay, no brownie points to Fox News for that because they're only doing that shit after they got fucking sued for hundreds of billions of dollars. So no, yeah. He's worked really well with the Democrat weak points. That's why everyone sees them as weak right now. It's a very complicated play he's doing, not making mistakes publicly while working on every mistake your opponent's pointing yourself. I don't know. I think that's you're giving him way too much credit. You're giving him way too much credit. The Democrats are weak because they're choosing to do this. They're literally abdicating their fucking job to fucking govern. I mean, we fucking gave them the House and the Senate and the presidency. I'm not saying, you know, that things were going to happen with the snap of a finger. Granted, the majorities were slim. But Jesus freaking Christ, man. No willingness to fucking put the pedal to the metal. No willingness to be like, hey, we're gonna really try whatever fucking means that we have available to us, to try to get something done, even if we have a slim majority. They didn't even fucking like give them the fight. I don't like to underestimate people. I'd rather overestimate and prepare than to be defenseless at the end. That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. Don't don't give them too much credit. However, I mean, I would say that you are overestimating. The Dems are weak because they obey their corporate masters. I mean, yeah, but that's kind of like a problem across politics. However, they're supposed to be the party that is more favorable, supposedly, to do actually good stuff, or to do slightly better stuff. And yet they, in every case that they've had a majority, they've just completely abdicated, nowhere to be found. And here we are.
Their own church, but in response to the LA Dodgers inviting, then disinviting them.
You mean a party that actually governs? Yes, that actually governs. Because you best believe that you best believe that if we find ourselves in a situation, in a fucking nightmare scenario, where the fucking Republicans manage to win the House or maintain the House, win the Senate, and get the fucking presidency, do you think that they're going to be fucking sitting around? No, they're going to be using everything that they can to try to fucking shove as much garbage down our throats as possible. Will they succeed? I don't know. Maybe in some cases, but they're going to fucking try. They're going to fucking try.
Then finally re-inviting the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, which is a satirical LGBTQ plus group for those of you who don't know. Now, I feel like I'm stating the obvious, but if these Catholics actually cared about saving the children, why the fuck are they not marching against their own institution? The Attorney General of Illinois released a report.
That's just the latest case. There's so many of these. The Illinois case is just the latest. James Napper, welcome. I would counter that a little bit. I don't doubt that Democrats do statistically listen to higher SES quintiles more than lower ones, but that in itself is not necessarily an electoral problem. It's a legislative one. The electoral problem is instead the fact that each different faction of the Democrats think the party listens to the other too much, and that lends them to flirt with not voting or not really encouraging others to vote. I mean, sure. I'm not disputing that. In terms of like what the voter base, is that what you're talking about? Yeah, I agree with you. I'm not gonna fight you on that. I'm just saying that when they do win power, they refuse to govern. When they do win power, when they do win elections, when they do have majorities, they don't even try, or at least it doesn't feel that way. I mean, like my argument is that if you had a Republican president, a Republican House, and a Republican Senate next election, let's say things go like the worst case scenario, nightmare scenario, even a marginal win by the Senate and the presidency, it don't matter. I would pose and I would bet that the Republicans would be doing much more to get their garbage passed. That's just the way I see it. But if you're talking about the voter base, yeah, I agree with you.
Detailing actual sexual abuse of 1,900 minors by 450 priests spanning decades. Hey, Catholics, the call is coming from within the house. But it's not just Catholics, because in 2022, Newsweek put together an entire list of pastors charged with child sexual abuse just in the state of Texas alone. And according to a Southern Baptist Convention document, more than 700 Baptist leaders have been accused of child sexual abuse between
Yeah, so I had this like massive argument. Practically Trump's player now is to seem much higher on the scale than his opponent in front of his own electorate that he's won before. While Democrats are trying to destroy themselves. I mean, like the Democrats at every point, like literally just decide, like at every given point, at every possible point where you could shoot yourself in the foot, they've been doing that. It's really quite frustrating. It's really quite frustrating. At any given point, the Democratic Party has shown their unique ability to consistently shoot themselves in the foot. I'm always going to give parties and leaders some leeway when it comes to public sentiment, because to be honest, it's absolutely true that it's chaotic. It's hard to balance many different opinions and preferences alongside bearded. Yes. But I do believe they try, but they do, I believe, try more so than Republicans. You mean like you think that the Democratic Party tries more than the Republicans? I don't think so. Or at least they're like the Republicans are much more willing to play hardball. That's the way I see it. Republicans will literally like hold the fucking like economy hostage if that's what it takes. Republicans will literally like carve out exceptions while they're in power, just to make sure that they get what they need in the specific moment while they have that. Like while they had the whole fucking like Senate majority, they're the ones that carved out that exception for the Supreme Court rule because they knew. Do you think that like the Democratic Party would be do you think that the Democratic Party would be willing to play that game? No. In fact, they showed us so. Yeah, I got on it, but this time I was able to see it. This time I was able to see it. I mean, like, that's just my perception. I think they do, only because Republicans in comparison have a very simple job. They more often than not just listen to the absolute wealthy, as the only voice they really hear is the one at the top, so at least it sounds more coherent. Okay, I mean, yeah, I just feel like I just don't feel like the Democratic Party is fighting. But again, these are just opinions. These are just opinions and perceptions of how I see it. An estimated 330,000 children were victims of sex abuse at the France Catholic Church over the past, according to reports. Jesus Christ. The figure includes abuse committed by 30,000 priests. Jesus. In a systemic... Yeah, I mean, like, just to kind of piggyback off what I was talking about, like my tangent. I was having an argument on Twitter, so there's a good start. So I was having an argument on Twitter, and this person was getting very angry because I kept making the point that only the right wing is engaging in these horrific, like, pedo-jacketing campaigns. The left really doesn't do that. It's not like, it's not a bullet point or talking point or what is it called when you have like a position? Oh God, I forgot what it's the name for it. Not talking point. Platform. It's not part of the platform. For the left to consistently engage in platform. It's not the left does not engage in these pedo-jacketing campaigns. Agenda, yes. I mean, like, platform, agenda, you can kind of get the gist of what I'm talking about. The left really doesn't do that as part of, like, our message. And the guy was very, very upset. So much so that he's like, oh, well, the left just says that all Christians are pedos. No, not really. We're talking about the church as an institution. And it's not just the Catholic Church. And then he went on a tirade about how Christian just is a just a front for white. I mean, like, it just got worse from there. I have no problem with anyone thinking the party isn't doing enough. That's a vital part of keeping their positions in check. It's just something hard to balance that frustration with maintaining a level of support for the overall project. Yeah, like, just to be clear, I'm still voting. Just to be clear, I'm still voting, and I would argue that people should still vote. Okay? If you have that tool available to you, do not leave it for the other side to use. If the tool is there, then you just don't leave it on the table. Somebody else is going to use it. Hey Goku, how's it going? But why the DNC and RNC are not making choices for new candidates for 2024? Well, I mean, the DNC decided that, you know, the incumbent is the incumbent, so they're probably going to just run with that. The RNC, well, Trump basically controls the Republican base, so it's kind of like set. We'll see what happens in 2028.
2000 and 2009, and stories of their abuse are very common. For example, in June, a Christian missionary was sentenced to 25 years for sexually abusing.
And then, like, what really got me angry about that argument is that they started saying that fucking school teachers, the public schools have more problems, with grooming and abuse. What? What happens if a teacher gets caught with a student? They go to fucking jail, as they should. They get fired, and they go to jail. And they're removed from the school system. This is nowhere near the problems with the church.
Using a preschooler and transmitting an STD to them. Just absolutely monstrous behavior. But they don't talk about this. Where's the Christians and Catholics marching against that? But it's not just Christians and Catholics, because the Arizona Supreme Court recently ruled that the Mormon Church can refuse to answer questions or turn over documents under a state law that exempts religious officials from having to report child sex abuse if
That's interesting. Hey, who wrote that law? I have a question. Who wrote that law? I'm trying to find it, but yeah, it's true. There is an exception where it's called the clergy penitent privilege, which allows members of the clergy who learn of the abuse through spiritual confessions to keep that information secret. This is effing gross. I bet followers wouldn't do anything of it and just keep praying to things. Yeah, exactly. Clearly, they don't do anything. They haven't done anything. The church, in many instances, have said, "Oh, this is horrible, and we're gonna do." Shut up, you guys. None of you have ever done anything, to make it safer, for kids or to have any accountability whatsoever. Yeah, it's absolute bullshit. Imagine if God is actually real and the Catholic priest just appears in from them. What if God was one of us? Yeah, so they have an exception where they can keep that information secret. So all you have to do in Arizona is to confess to a clergy, and they have to keep your... Like, how messed up is that? Whatever.
They learn of the crime during a confessional setting. And this ruling came in response to the Church of Latter-day Saints refusing to turn over disciplinary records of a clergyman who was posting videos of himself abusing his daughters online. I think that the actual law enforcement officials should know how you discipline these individuals, given that this is a crime, and they need to know that the punishment meets the crime, because
I'm trying to keep it licenses infuriating. Absolutely.
that is a heinous crime, one of the worst things that you can do to a human being, not to mention your own child. But get this, quote, an Associated Press investigation of clergy privilege shows it exists in 33 states and that the LDS Church, often joined by the Catholic Church, Jehovah's Witnesses, and other faiths, have successfully lobbied against attempts to reform or eliminate it. In other words, religious organizations have systematically abused children for decades, and they've also lobbied to maintain legal exemptions that let them shield their own from actual criminal repercussion.
Right, and like the audacity, the fucking gall to say that there's no problem with the fucking church. Unfucking believable. The fucking audacity to say that, like, to pedo jacket the fucking LGBTQ community. The fucking gall. All of these people are fucking disgusting. Anyone who engages in this fucking behavior is fucking disgusting. Tim Pool, Matt Walsh, all of these motherfuckers. Chaya Rychek, whatever the fuck her name is, from Libs of TikTok. James Lindsay. All these people. The now viral moment, Representative Goldman destroyed. Republicans are absurdly claiming that they want to hold members accountable. You're the party of George Santos. Who are you holding accountable? Yeah, I mean, Republicans being hypocrites. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of par for the course, right? maybe the TikTok platform needs to die. Maybe the haters were right.
Clergy privilege is what they're calling it. Yet, conservatives are pointing at LGBTQ plus people as if they're the problem. It's a sick joke, right? But it's not just religious organizations. I'd be remiss to just talk about their abuse, because the entire fucking West Virginia State Police Department is currently under investigation for sexual misconduct with dozens of people, including minors, previously in their Junior Trooper Academy program, planning to sue them. But nothing that I'm telling you is shocking if you've been paying attention, right? But are conservatives going to yell groomer the next time they see a Blue Lives Matter flag? Are they going to yell groomer at someone wearing a cross? Well, of course not. The reason conservatives hyper-focus on LGBTQ plus people but turn a blind eye to actual instances of systemic child abuse,
it's because they're either part of it or defending it. That's it. Those people with the bullhorns, the OK groomers shouting it from the fucking rooftop, those are the people that are ending up, those are the people who end up being the groomers or defending the groomers. It never fails. Fucking Matt Walsh just recently did it. He literally just recently did it. This was what, last week? Yeah, this was last Thursday. Dude was like talking about the dude was mad that somebody pointed out, hey, when are we going to fucking like talk about this? This person correctly at Fox News, mind you, correctly points out, not a drag queen. When are you going to be honest about who the real problem is? The dude was more interested in protecting a serial child molester. Anyways.
Is because they don't actually care about children. They just hate queer people. And also because, let's be real, they probably want to, at least some do, give actual pedophiles a little bit of a pass, create a diversion for them so they can continue abusing children. And it's not unreasonable to think that, because a lot of these conservatives, oftentimes the ones who scream the loudest about this, they've made some very suspicious statements themselves. And there's a lot of examples out there. Justin Horowitz of Media Matters put together a massive list of right-wing media figures' history of either defending pedophiles or sexualizing children themselves. And after seeing just a few examples, I can't help but think that they're probably projecting when they talk about so-called groomers in the LGBTQ plus community, because after all, every accusation is a confession, we've learned, right? So it's not unreasonable to think, maybe they're hiding something by focusing on this and pointing the finger.
Every accusation is just a confession. I see. The words have finally reached one of the members of the leftist mafia.
At LGBTQ plus people. But with that being said, here's just a couple of examples provided to us within that article.
Yeah, I gotta find my 16-year-old wife. Probably when I turn 30 or something.
So, I mean, like, yeah. FBI would probably like a few words. So when I'm 30, I need to find a 16-year-old wife? Okay, dude. This is in case we don't know who this is, this is literally Nick Fuentes, a fucking neo-Nazi. A far-right neo-Nazi. This is why I don't like religion. Abusing it. Abusing it is about as easy as taking candy from a baby. It's just below me. Am I bad at doing X that I need abuse faith for that? Yeah, I mean, like, well, religion is based on faith, and faith is just what? Taking things at face value with no evidence.
Here's the thing. I don't want to be like, let's say I get married to a 18-year-old now. 6-year age difference. When I turn 40, she's going to be 34.
Nick made these comments about a 16-year-old woman, and
16-year-old woman? You mean girl? 16-year-old girl? You don't say 16-year-old man. That's a boy. That's a child. Jesus, these people are fucking gross.
16-year-old wife, that he wants a 16-year-old wife. And I think that's normal. That's fair enough.
What? That's normal and fair enough. Mind you, like a long time ago, this fucking Matt Walsh also said that like the peak. He was talking about the peak fertility of women was about 17. If I remember the quote correctly. Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously, but
obviously,
really
what? Obviously, no, dude, not obviously, unless you're a fucking like pedo. No, not obviously. Never in my mind, as a 30-something-year-old, would I obviously be thinking about a 16-year-old wife? What do you do? What? 17 is young enough to trap someone who doesn't know better. Yeah, they're children. You're right. It gets worse. Oh, good lord. Just vomit. Yes, that's the appropriate response. Just vomiting. Abusing a cult is more of a thing I do. Those guys knew what they were in for, so let's get maximum out of their blind faith. Like, should I just start like the difficult truth prosperity gospel? Okay, the truth gospel. Look, it's even got my name in it.
Shoot lower than that. I don't think you need to wait till the girl's 16. I think you should have forced child marriage.
Forced child marriage. Ah, yes. Well, good thing your Republican buddies agree with you, as they have fought to keep child marriage in, what, a dozen states? If I remember correctly, there were several states where Republicans have fought to keep child marriage. This is on the Kill stream, so not surprising to hear this. I wonder if he said if he regretted what he said. No, this is what they mean. They're being very honest.
Is what I support. Forced child marriage. You can ask the girl if she likes a guy or whatever, and you can take that into account in your decision making, but the girl should be forcibly married. Obviously, I'm not promoting quote unquote pedophilia, which is.
But you are, though. You literally just said you should shoot lower than 16, and then you immediately proceeded to advocate for forced child marriage. Yeah, FBI. FBI, you might want to check some hard drives over here. Oh boy.
There's a term that gets thrown around, which, I mean, it's really a practice of homosexuals, but gets thrown around at people who talk about so-called...
Wait. At this dude has the audacity to say pedophilia is a practice that's done by homosexuals, but is literally advocating for forced child marriage. This is beyond. This is beyond. You can't buy a beer, but you can tie your life to someone forever. Cool. Yeah, forcibly too. Forcibly. Alio with the 12 biddies. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Underage girls.
You're hot. So I messaged her. She's like, I'm only 16. I was like, give a fuck. Know about me.
Yeah. And now they're facing charges of rape and criminal sex trafficking. Yeah. Sounds about right. And here's his brother saying 30 is the first year you can legally... no, if you have a woman... No, they're not women. They're not women. They're 15, bro. They are they're children, okay? Jesus.
When the Duggars came out and their son had molested their child, you more or less said that you felt sorry for their parents. Their parents let it continue for...
We need a projector emoji. Yeah, like an old school projector. Like one of those projectors that you used to, like, whenever you saw that in class, you knew it was going to be like a pretty cool lesson day, like an old school projector. And they turned that into an emoji.
You don't know, ma'am, I'm sorry, but let me just stop you. No, let me stop you, because you're accusing me of supporting child abuse. And I'm going to take you on that, because that hurts my feelings, and it's absolutely
you know what?
wrong.
It hurts my feelings too.
Well, let me just...
Jesus. The JP and already ever understand the age of consent. Oh, they completely understand it. They just don't want it to exist. At 40, you can legally own a dad bod. It does get better with time. Being there looks painful, true.
Somebody like you are running for the American public.
Ma'am, let me tell you something. You have no idea what you're talking about. You don't know that family, and I do.
Judge Roy Moore had sexual contact with a 14-year-old girl when he was in his early 30s. 3 other women say that Moore also approached them when they were teens.
They want to destroy Judge Roy Moore, and you know why? They want to take your voice away.
And in the Catholic Church, you have some cases where, like cases involving Cardinal McCarrick. You hear about Cardinal McCarrick and the controversy surrounding him. Now, there are
The controversy? The controversy?
Accusations that he molested children. So, that's in that category. But then a lot of the accusations you hear about McCarrick and also with other, some of these other things as well. These are, in some cases, he's having sex with seminarians. These are grown men who he allegedly lured into bed and then had sex with. But as a grown man, if you let another man lure you into bed and then you willingly, with no resistance, engage in sex acts with him, does that belong in the same category as the 12-year-old kids who are raped by men twice their size? I think clearly it doesn't.
Yeah, this dude has the concept of like consent. It's just not there. The concept of consent, the understanding of what consent means, it's just not there.
He's not in prison for that. He didn't. Warren Jeffs didn't marry underage girls.
No, he's in prison for facilitation of child rape.
Whatever the hell that means.
That means
what? Yeah, I mean, no surprises that Tucker Carlson would end up on this. No
He's in
surprises.
prison because he's weird and unpopular, and he
No, you don't. Wait, what? You don't end up in prison because you're weird and unpopular. Okay? That's not a thing. Okay? That's not a thing. You do not go to prison for being weird or unpopular. Like I said, every single time without fail, all these people just either end up being the fucking groomers or defending them. Every time.
has a different lifestyle that other people find creepy.
It's more of a public.
Creepy? Yeah, I mean, no, you don't just go to prison for being creepy, okay? The dude was facilitating child rape. Or accessory, I guess you would be an accessory to the crime, if I heard correctly. That's not being weird or unpopular or creepy. Okay? You're facilitating child rape. You literal fucking disgusting ghoul. Tucker Carlson's always just the opposite of truth. If you want to know the truth, just watch Tucker and reverse everything he says. So this is a very old video of the quartering, the quarter pounder, Jeremy Handley, about to tell us how to not get caught with child porn. Take it away, Jeremy.
Service announcement than anything else. At the office this week, we had a situation where one of the techs came across some pictures on a customer's computer that were of the child pornography variety. I don't really know if there's any tack way to put that, but the customer was reported and subsequently arrested, I believe, is last that I heard. And is even more serious. However, I've never known a tech in my life that ever took anything other than like videos or music off computers. But the point of this video is just to remind people that, you know, as techs, we read your emails, so to speak. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying it happens. So if you have things that you don't want computer techs to see, you know, you should delete them or rename them that you don't want text to look at. You know, maybe change the folder name when you take it in if you can, or, you know, I'm not condoning it. I don't think it's necessarily right. I believe it's an invasion of privacy. But that's
an invasion of privacy. An invasion of... What are you talking about? Most right-wingers I know despise him. I mean, but he still yet manages to have a wildly successful right-wing channel doing this like anti-SJW culture war bullshit somehow. Was this before or after Hunter's laptop? Oh man, good question. He did this years ago. This is an old video.
Really why, you know, I don't really do it anymore, but I certainly did back in the day. And, you know, there's not a tech in the business out there right now that doesn't do it. It happens. So if you have these sorts of things, remember that computer techs do look at other things on your computer. It's sometimes it's by accident, sometimes it's by curiosity. But just keep in mind when you take things in
or boredom
to get your, you know, you take your computer in to get it fixed. People look around on it, and you should make it real easy for people to find things.
Now, that last video by the quartering wasn't actually featured in Justin Horowitz's compilation, but I had to include it because the quartering is another individual who has suggested that queer people are groomers or pedophiles.
He hasn't suggested it. He's literally been very... He's literally been very vocal. I resent this because my husband is in IT. Like, not everyone is an Uber creep. He certainly is. The quartering certainly is. Yeah, here's another idea. Don't have any illegal stuff. Like, what are you on about? hide your crimes better? No. Like, what? it's just weird that he had to say that. It's just very strange that he had to make, as he himself called it, the public service announcement. Very strange. Very, very strange.
But he, right there, just gave child predators a little bit of a PSA, as he called it, to hide the child abuse that's on their computers. Counter argument, don't tell them this, let them get caught. It's just, they are so despicable. They genuinely don't care. They don't.
Why would you make a public service announcement saying that you should probably hide your child porn better? Or rename the folder. He literally just said rename the folder or something. Bro! Oh my god. Oh, this guy's fucking disgusting.
Don't know how hypocritical they sound, how suspicious they look. Now, again, those are just a few examples. That video was not an exhaustive list. If you want the full stories, I'll link to that article down below. But I mean, as you saw from those videos, they varied from outright support for child marriage to defending some of these pedophiles. Matt Walsh, for example, tried to minimize the child sexual abuse of a Catholic priest by saying, oh, well, some of his victims were grown men. But why would you feel the need to defend him? I mean, grown men, believe it or not, can be the victims of sexual abuse as well. But why go out of your way to defend him? Furthermore, that conversation that he had with the camera took place within the context of him defending female predators who have sex with teenage boys. So, yeah. But there's more. Ian Miles Chong has repeatedly advocated for the age of consent to be lowered. Turning Point USA recently held their Pastors Summit with a registered sex offender. And the list goes on and on and on. So keeping in mind the fact that many conservatives who accuse innocent LGBTQ plus people of being groomers for simply just existing in the presence of a child, they A, never condemn child sex abuse in churches, and B, they've made comments in support or defense of child exploitation themselves. And considering the reality that every accusation is a confession, I think it's safe to say that conservatives, at the very least, aren't the best messengers here. And the question is, why do conservatives want to distract all of us from actual instances of child abuse that's going on in this country? Systematic instances of abuse within institutions that's been a problem for decades. I mean, you can say it's bigotry. Sure, that's the large portion of why they're doing this.
Maybe it's because it's the real groomers are them. New folder name, totally innocent stuff. Got it.
I think, but at least some of these conservatives, it just seems like maybe they're trying to convince you that queer people are groomers, so nobody suspects them. Regardless, the word groomer has meaning, and it's an important word, and conservatives have either...
Yeah, like, no, I would say that, yeah, of course, I think that Mike is right here, but I would also say that they're literally just doing this to lay the groundwork to eliminate queer people. Because if you can successfully, like, drill into people's heads that, you know, queer people equals pedos, then, like, you have the moral justification to eliminate them. That's really what I'm kind of like trying to pinpoint. Hello, person that has been banned in several channels. You hold progressive views, sir? What is that? Why does that matter?
Wittingly or unwittingly assisted actual pedophiles by incorrectly applying that word to LGBTQ plus people. So if they actually cared about kids, they would stop and be clear. If you don't like queer people, that's fine. I mean, it's bad, and I'll disagree with you and advocate for the rights of marginalized people, but you can just say that you don't think that queer people should be equal without the pretense of, well, I want to protect children. Because that's not a good look coming from you especially. Because the louder that you scream about other people having an issue, that tells us that maybe we should actually be a little bit skeptical of you. So if you hate queer people, just say that. But drop the bullshit, because we all know that you don't care about children.
Damn. Whew. Whew. Wow. Couldn't have put it better myself, honestly. Most people are too extroverted for my taste. I'm not very extroverted. Hey, it's the Morton. How's it going? Will you be willing to explain what is being a progressive liberal like? What is a progressive liberal? A liberal is a liberal. A progressive is a progressive. These are two different. I don't even know if you understand the meaning of these words. How could you ask a question if you don't even understand the meaning of the words that you're trying to ask about? A progressive is definitely different. Yeah, definitely a nice one. That was a whew. That was a good ending. He says on his successful Twitch broadcast. Listen, I'm an introvert playing the part of an extrovert, okay? Yeah, a progressive is different than a liberal. A liberal, did I make it in time for the Henderson chat? Maybe. A liberal might have more socially progressive views. That is not the same. Explain what is progressive and liberal and the gap between them, I guess. Yeah, ask Jesus. How about that? Ask Jesus Christ. Why don't you tell me? Why don't you tell me what the difference is between these groups? Or between these labels, I should say. Have the munchies? Why don't you go and research what these words mean and you tell me, okay? Why don't you own me? Own me in the marketplace, of ideas, okay? You tell me. Jesus. Capitol riot rioter who shocked police officer was stun gunned and sentenced to 12 years in prison. Yeah, so insurrectionist gets 12 years in prison. Gotcha. I had to be a little capitalist. And Kitten, I wanted to know what your take on the billionaires in the submarine. Oh, don't care. Don't care. The company, the company was very dubious in terms of safety wise. Yeah. Oh well. No, sir, that's why I'm here to ask your opinion, because I'm not the one putting my ideology in front of millions of people. Oh shit, there's millions of people here? Jesus. Damn, if I had millions of people, yet you're here in chat in front of millions of people. True. Also, here's a question. Don't you also have the ability to put your ideology by chatting with all the same amount of people? This doesn't make any sense. Billionaires in a submarine, they paid with the experience of a lifetime and they got what they paid for. I mean, yeah. True. It's still alive. I hope they find them alive. Honestly, the likelihood, the likelihood of that is not looking good. The likelihood of that is not looking good. Possibly so grateful to be alive that they changed their ways for the better. I mean, that would be a hopeful outcome. But yeah, the real talk, the likelihood. No. A California insurrectionist who drove a stun gun into a police officer's neck during the insurrection was sentenced to 12 years in prison. Insurrectionist yelled Trump won as he was led out of the courtroom, where District Judge Amy Jackson sentenced him to 12 years and 7 months behind bars for his role in the January 6th insurrection. Only 2 other January 6th insurrections received longer prison terms so far after hundreds of sentencings for the Capitol insurrection. The judge said Rodriguez was a one-man army of hate attacking police and destroying property. You showed up to Washington, D.C. Spoiling for a fight. You can't blame what you did once you got there, but anyone on anyone but yourself. I don't find it ever good when shit like this happens, especially for a 19-year-old son. Tragedy was always scary to see. That's why, being said, I do see how this was very preventable and I was asking for it to happen. Now let's understand the difference between people who probably are net negatives on humanity. Yes. Yes. I mean, like, the way I see it, the way I see it, it's like, the way this thing was built, engineers said this was not a good idea. They still went with it for the sake of money, for the sake of being greedy, and I mean, Metropolitan police officers, Michael Fanone's body camera captured him screaming out of pain after Rodriguez shocked him with a stun gun while he was surrounded by a mob. Another insurrectionist dragged Fanone into the crowd outside a tunnel in the Capitol's Lower West entrance where a line of police officers were guarding an entrance to the building. Other insurrectionists began beating Fanone, who lost consciousness and suffered a heart attack after the insurrectionist pressed a stun gun against his neck and repeatedly shocked him. Yep. I saw a clip of him saying that the tube that they were in was made by NASA, so they're safe. Yeah, but the Challenger was made by NASA, and we all know where that went. Yep. Hot take about the Capitol building. Do we care that the people went in there and took it, or do we care why we did it? Both. If people took it in protest for progressive values, would be calling them heroes. I suggest we use it as a game to capture the flag and have people constantly taking it for various reasons. I mean, like, the reason matters, and like, yeah, I think the reasons matter. Because if you have like these fucking like far right like insurrectionists taking the government, what do you think is gonna happen to the rest of the country? I mean, like, generally speaking, progressive people don't behave in the same degree like that. So yeah, it's definitely scary. I think the why, I think the why is more important. But yeah, very, very scary. Very scary. They were carrying Confederate flags. The reasons are fucked. True. It was freaky. I felt like our government was collapsing. Maybe that was just me. It was very surreal. It was very surreal. I mean, we watched it. We watched it live. It was very surreal. I don't care that people take out government building better than burning down your own communities. I would just rather it be done for reasons like class solidarity, not dumb fuckery. Well, it's not just dumb fuckery. Like, these people wanted to overthrow a legitimate election. That's the problem. They legitimately wanted to overthrow an election, and were doing so at the behest of the previous president, of the person who just lost the election. I mean, how wild is that? And then afterwards, The dude had schemes to try to flip the election. It's just like it's just beyond. Hey, Princess Chi, the last 3 years haven't been a great time at all. True. Fanon addressed the judge before she imposed a sentence. The former officer described how the January 6th insurrection prematurely ended his law enforcement career and turned him into a target for Trump supporters who clung to the lie that the Democrats stole the 2020 election. Fanon left the courtroom in the middle of Rodriguez's statement to the judge. He didn't miss an apology from Rodriguez, who's been jailed for more than 2 years and will get credit for that time already served. I'm hopeful that Mr. Fanon will someday be okay. He sounds like he's in a great deal of pain. Yeah. Surprise, surprise, another insurrectionist gets a hefty sentence. I find that less scary than the court case that went on to overturn this election. The idea that you might flip enough people in the court's cases, you can literally change the democracy forever. Yeah, I mean, sure, that's absolutely terrifying, and that's absolutely part of the game plan. Both can be bad at the same time. Both can be bad. You can have, which in fact kind of is so parallel to the Weimar years. It's very, very scary. I think that's why it matters. We should have the ability to overthrow a government by force if need be. You never know the turns our government could take. All I see is last year's, and the ones we're heading down the line are going way down. Yeah, it's not going to get that much better before. It's not going to get better just yet. We still have ways to go. They wanted to hang Pence for what they were told was treason. Yep. All right, folks. We've got to speed run through some of these. We'll just speed run through this one. Representative Boebert is trying to force a vote on articles of impeachment. Again. So yeah. Will she get any traction on the floor? Probably not. Will it ever come to fruition now? Is this a waste of time? Yes. We'll see if anything happens. It has? What? It has traction, you think? Oh, the shifting? What is the shifting? Did I miss something? What is your opinion on using AI? Oh, Shift got censored. Oh, okay, gotcha. What is your opinion on using AI as a tool to lay out fiscal plans and resource management? Who's making the AI? Who's controlling the AI? It just depends on how the tool is being used. I mean, maybe it could be useful. Oh, gotcha. Posted in chat. After 8 years, Americans have made up their minds about Trump. It appears that not even a federal indictment is swaying them. According to polls conducted before and after the indictment, Trump's support levels in both primary and general election don't appear to have budged, even though a large majority of Americans viewed the charges as serious. In the Republican primary, he's currently at 53. 53.5, which is a little change from 53.8. So here's where we're at. DeSantis and Trump, like nowhere near each other. Nowhere near. Not that Americans have somehow missed the news. Trump's indictment have gotten mountains of media coverage, according to a recent poll. YouGov poll, CBS poll, 75% of Americans have heard, or adults have heard or read at least some about the latest indictment. Overall, they don't see the content of the charges as frivolous. 69% agreed that yes, it should be a security risk if Trump had nuclear or military documents in his home after leaving office. Another poll from Ipsos ABC found that 61% of American adults, including 38% of Republicans, thought the charges were somewhat serious, compared to the 52% adults who thought that Trump's first indictment over the hush money payments, whom he alleged had an affair. When it comes to the question about charging and convicting Trump, a consistent divide emerges. A plurality support the prosecutor are doing what the prosecutors are doing, but a substantial minority thinks that it went to a substantial minority. Okay. Per Ipsos ABC poll, 48% of adults believe that he should have been charged. 35% believe he should not have been. Data for Progress, 50% of likely voters thought the charges were appropriate to hold Trump accountable. 45% thought they were politically driven to attack him. I mean, like, damn, propaganda. Propaganda really did a number on this. Propaganda seriously did a number on this. Imagine, like, thinking that being held, like, accountable for crimes is, like, politically driven. If those numbers look familiar, they're roughly 40 to 55% split. Trump has in his approval, disapproval, and favorable, unfavorable ratings since 2017. In other words, when it comes to questions about concrete consequences for Trump, Americans are responding in the same way they have for years. So will this affect the election? It seems like it won't. It seems like this guy could literally be on trial for fucking, like, stuff under the Espionage Act, and it doesn't matter. The dude was right. He could literally shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and they'd still vote for him. Utah district returns Bible to shelves after appeals and outcry. So, yep, apparently, this was overturned, as they tried to ban the Bible, since fair is fair. But nope, apparently, it is appropriate for all ages, even though it has graphic, stories in it, more graphic stories than any of the books that they have tried to ban for LGBTQ or even, like, books from black authors. But the Bible is okay. I understand how it can be seen as politically driven, and maybe it is. Trump is using this for political gain, and it's working. Yeah, I mean, like, well, what they mean is that they think that they're targeting Trump specifically, but they're not. They're not targeting Trump because he's a Republican. They're not targeting Trump because he's the front runner of the Republican front runner. They're targeting Trump because he fucking did some wild shit. And he got caught. It's just that simple. Well, somewhat unsurprising, this isn't really conservatism anymore. It's just populism with conservatives going along for the ride. Is it populism? I mean, like, I guess I would say it's faux populism. There's another word for that. The crazier part is that it's actually a minority who are driving it, because we now live in a kind of new unheavenly course where attraction comes less from numbers or even money, way more about who is loudest on the internet, and Trump is loudest. Yeah, so it's not actually populism. It's like a faux populism. There's another word for that. There's another word for a faux populist who claims to be who claims to be a populist but ends up being very far right. Seen that story before. At the very least, I mean, they didn't want him to even make a big deal. If he gave back the documents, they wouldn't have charged him because he's just another elite. The problem is he refused to give it back. Yeah, well, that's exactly the problem. Because the same thing happened to Joe Biden. The same thing happened to Joe Biden. The difference is he gave the fucking shit back. There was no problems. And to my knowledge, Joe Biden wasn't fucking showing around like state secrets or putting them in places where other people could fucking see it. Or bragging about it. Okay, that's the problem. He did the crimes, and it's on audio. That's the difference. If you would have just given back the documents and there was no evidence or no tape of him like bragging about like how he, had these documents and whatever, like none of this would have happened because it's not. It would just they would just be going through the standard procedure. I certainly think he's stupid. He's playing a dangerous game and is winning. He's trying to convince people that our government is so corrupt that it has to be removed. Trump already said a long time ago that if he wins, he wants to remove the term limits so he can. Yeah, that's true. That's very true. You're right. They somehow help somehow in a political sense. Like this typically takes forever. Well, I mean, like it. Yeah, I guess, but it's irrelevant because even if they did the fastest trial in the world and the guy gets convicted, it doesn't matter. He can still run. He can still run and win. So it doesn't matter, really. Don't underestimate, but he is also stupid. Yeah, I mean, the guy can't keep his mouth shut because he thinks he's untouchable. Yeah. So after public outcry, one of the most like explicit content is back in the eyes of children. Cool. Somebody sent Trump some free cheeseburgers already. All right. Last story that is very important. Justice Alito faces scrutiny over trips to GOP donor, pens defensive op-ed. Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito is now facing new scrutiny following a ProPublica report published late Tuesday that reveals an expensive and previously undisclosed luxury fishing trip. Hey, nice. That he took with a prominent conservative donor over a decade ago. Alito wrote a defensive op-ed preemptively denying the wrongdoing in the Wall Street Journal. According to the ProPublica investigation, Alito in 2008 flew on a billionaire Paul Singer's private jet on a trip that included room and board at Alaska's pricey King Solomon Lodge. That was paid for by then owner Robin Arkley II, who is a prolific donor to conservative legal causes like Singer. According to the report, Singer connections with corporate entities later made cases in front of the Supreme Court and won with Alito's support. Damn! What a fucking coincidence. What a coincidence. The report comes amid ongoing discussions centering the Supreme Court's policy for gift disclosures and calls from lawmakers for ethics reform on the nation's highest court, spurred by the ProPublica investigation into Justice Thomas earlier this year, which found that he traveled on lavish vacations bankrolled by GOP mega donor Harlan Crow, who's paid for private school for the justice's nephew, which is another conflict of interest. Separately, a political investigation found that a law firm that presented nearly 24 cases before the court had bought a property co-owned by Neil Gorsuch. I mean, like, the thing just keeps going on and on and on and on, scandal after scandal after scandal. And these guys are outraged. They have the gall to to be mad that people are questioning the integrity of the Supreme Court. Jesus. There's only 3 ways to keep him bosses. He leaves, he dies, and he's charged with treason. I mean, yeah. The winner of the presidential primary will be whoever can give the base the biggest hit of dopamine and can sustain the longest regardless of what causes it. True. Trump is basically using many of the same rhetorical arguments that people on the left do. We just spoke earlier about how it's perceived and even proven that the government is kind of corrupt. It does listen to rich people disproportionately. That's why it's populist rather than conservative. It has kind of a weird bipartisan effect, appealing to non-traditional political actors. Yeah, but that's kind of like the grift is kind of like cracked, right? Because like he's trying to use this faux populist argument while simultaneously bashing the left. But also, you can't talk about how the government is corrupt when you're the one doing it. It just doesn't jive. But yeah, it's faux populism. We have another term for that. It's fascism. I'll literally throw in my vote to any candidate who promises me more anime cat girls in media. Single voter issue. Gotcha. I hear that, Princess Chi-Chi. And what did Mr. T do to improve the situation? Nada. News outlets rarely respond publicly when the subject of an article criticizes a story. However, hours after the Justice article was published, ProPublica tweeted that Alito didn't answer our questions. Instead, he wrote an opinion piece attacking his unfair story he hadn't even read. Oh man, like imagine getting worked up and you didn't even read, so you preemptively felt the need to defend yourself. That's kind of telling. If you preemptively needed to, if you felt the need to preemptively defend yourself, that's a red flag. I mean, seriously, at this point, enough is enough. Enough is enough. There has to be some kind of ethics groundwork to be laid down for the Supreme Court. I mean, like they're not above that, in my opinion. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse has championed the legislation to increase ethic regulations for Supreme Court justices, and the op-ed only increased these concerns ahead of the ProPublica report. Quote, "This just keeps getting worse." Yeah, it does. Scandal after scandal after scandal after scandal, and yet nothing. No adequate response. No adequate response. No adequate attempt to actually hold these people accountable. And they're basically at one of the highest echelons of power. Their decisions impact us. Their decisions have taken away people's rights to bodily autonomy. They must have ethics regulations. The fact that these people at any given point can literally take away, or that literally did take away the right to bodily autonomy for people, has no ethics regulations. The Supreme Court justices are above the law. They literally are. No, they're not though. They interpret the law, but they are not the law. Congress is the one that writes the law. They're the legislative branch. That's my argument. They are not the law. They're there to interpret the law that Congress writes and says, well, whoa, hold on. You can't do that because it's whatever. It's infringing on whatever. But yeah, like it's too much power. You're right. It's too much power. But just like any kind of populist wave, there's always this company belief that the system is broken that has to fix. That's, yeah, of course, but it's not. They don't. They generally believe the system broke, so it needs to fix by non-traditional rule-breaking means. Any kind of populist wave, there's always this company believes that the system is broken and that to fix it, some rules must be broken. That's for the greater good type of attitude. It's hard to do sometimes, but I think it makes it easier to understand if you try to assume that Trump at all genuinely believes they're doing the right thing, even when they're not. Yeah, but I don't think he does. I think he's self-serving. I don't think there's anything genuine about him. And while we agree that the system is broken, the system does need to be rebooted, their solution to it is very scary. Canada should be expanded if not abolished. I mean, yeah. Honestly, if they're unwilling to subject themselves to some kind of ethics regulations, and we can talk about this. But yeah, also, like, what do we do? Realistically, right now, what do we do? Our options are very, very, very limited. Our options are very limited. Make sure Republicans don't win the presidency so that they don't keep stacking the court. That's one thing. The Senate is important. Make sure that Republicans don't get the Senate so that they can't confirm justices and other federal judges that end up like wreaking havoc on the judiciary for decades. I mean, these are just like temporary stopgaps. I read it should be like 13 based on the pop. Yeah, I mean, like, you could make arguments for expanding the court. I'd be fine with that. The only thing they can do now is cut funding. Sheesh. Even if it's not sincere, the problem is more that people do think it's real. There are millions of Americans who believe it because it resonates with them. Yeah, I mean, like, but it's not necessarily out of pocket to say that the system is broken. It's just that their solutions to it is scary. Why do we need the Supreme Court? Why should a handful of people dictate the entire country's interpretation of law? Well, because if you don't have a way of having an appeals, or any, relief to said laws, then, like, you're kind of screwed, right? Because, like, if you have a state that is unwilling to play ball and it's causing, I don't know, like, infringement on people's rights, then you're gonna need some kind of way to protect that. I believe it's up to your community you live in to uphold laws and regulate it. Yes, fine, but you also need a way to kind of have a recourse, right? You need to have some kind of recourse. It's like those Republicans who are trying to take away, who are trying to basically say that gerrymandering is up to the state legislature and the courts should not be able to intervene. And the courts should not be able to intervene. What if the gerrymandering is incredibly racist? What do we do then? We have no other recourse. In the concept of not wanting a Supreme Court would be a form of populism, but the counter-argument is that the Supreme Court or any kind of final court needs to exist or draw a line under any legal dispute as well. The instance has, yeah, that's what that's what I'm saying. You need to have some kind of relief, some kind of recourse, in case things go, like, really bad. At least you have some kind of, like, you're able to sue the government or take it to the courts or whatever. But right now, the Supreme Court, as it stands right now, is broken. The Supreme Court, as is right now, is broken. This is not a functioning body of government. This is not a functioning third guardrail of government. You're supposed to have a functioning legislation, a functioning executive, and a functioning judiciary. Right now, it's not happening. It's not happening. Why not a different system? Well, you could argue for a more expansive Supreme Court. You know? And even the Supreme Court has should have ways of having a check and balance. That's just kind of like my argument. The concept of the Supreme Court isn't necessarily bad. It's just the current iteration is incredibly broken, and it is one of the most powerful institutions that we have, and it's messed up. And that needs to be corrected. There's a reason why a lot of authoritarian movements attack the courts, whether by packing them or twisting their arms to their favor. Just have trial by combat. There you go. All right. Folks, it is time. I'm hungry. Food's here. So I gotta get going. Folks, if you enjoy the content, don't forget to hit the follow button. Also, if you guys have a moment, head on over to the YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button. It really does help us out. We are... Oh, I didn't stand up. You're right. Shoot. Hold on. I'll stand up. I'll stand up and do my spiel. I don't like things ending. Sorry. If you guys enjoy the content, don't forget to go on the YouTubes, all right? It really does help us out. We're at 243, okay? 7 subscribers. Oof, I'm tired. 7 subscribers away from 250, which is half of 500, okay? So spread the word. We'll be back on Monday. Tomorrow, there is no stream. That's a great view. Tomorrow, there'll be no stream. But we'll be back on Monday, I promise. I need to add that emote. If you guys want to keep up with the channel, there's the Discord. But yeah, I gotta get going. Will the real ADT please stand up? I am the real ADT. Have a good weekend, you too. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for the biddies. Thank you. Thank you for the subscriptions. Thank you for the follows. I appreciate it. Need to bump those numbers up. Make some controversial, funny clips. Gotta be like Hassan. Just say America deserve. No, I don't. I'm not that controversial. I'm gonna be honest. But if you want to help bump those numbers up, bring a friend. All right, spread the word. Bring a friend. Thank you, Heat. Thank you, Michael Hassler, for moderating the chat. Thank you guys for hanging out. I appreciate it, folks. As always, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. Alvion, I hope to see you in the next one. See ya. Have a good one. Too busy selling my labor to hop on every day. No problem. We'll be back. We'll be back. See ya. Alright, folks. I'm heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See ya.